Hey everyone, Miss Wares here. Today I'm going to be reviewing with you slurs, ties, and repeat signs. So let's go ahead and title our page. Slurs, ties, and repeats. I have a few tricks that's going to help us remember what the difference is between our slur and our tie, because they do look similar. They both have that curvy line that are connecting two different notes. So let's go ahead and talk about our slurs first. So our slurs, the word I like to think about is switch. S for slur, S for switch. What I mean by that is we're going to switch to a different note. It's going to be a different pitch. We're going to switch our fingers. We're going to switch the air that we use. It's switching to something new, something different. So for our definition, we're going to write different note. And as you know, when we slur something, we're going to a different note with a slur. We're not going to use our tongue. So no tongue. And then I'd like to do an example of that. So let's go ahead and draw our staff. You do not have to put your clef because we got some people doing treble clef, some people doing bass clef. So just draw it a staff. I do need two separate measures. So put a bar line right there in the middle. On my first measure, I'd like you to do a whole note on that second line, just like this. So treble clef people, this is your G. Bass clef people, this is your B. Moving on to that second measure, I'd like a whole note on the third space. So treble clef, your C. Bass clef, your E. And we're gonna connect both of these notes with a slur marking. It's gonna look something like this. And I automatically know that this is a slur because it switches to a different note. It switches to a new pitch. So right here, this first note, I would tongue. The second note, because it's connected by the slur, I'm going to slur. So no tongue. I'm just going to push down the different buttons. All right, moving on to the next one. So let's talk about our ties. So the words I like to use to remember ties are going to be twin, plus, together. And it's easy to remember because it's all T's. Tie is twin plus together. So what I mean by that is our tie, as you know, those notes that we're connecting together with a tie are gonna be the exact same pitch, the same note, or twins. Now they could be two different note values. We can have a quarter note tied to a half note. That's okay. But they are going to be the exact same pitch, the same note name. And we're going to add those values together. So under here, let's write it's the same note. And we're going to add them together, just like that. So if I were to do an example of a tie, let's just go ahead and draw our staff again. Same thing, you don't need to do your clef. Just make sure we have two measures just like this. So I'm going to do another example. Right here, I'm going to do a whole note on that first space. So treble clef, it's our F. Bass clef, it's our A. Moving on to the other side, the other measure, I'd like to do a quarter note on that first space, so same note. And then let's do another quarter note there, and then do a half note on G. So we're just changing our notes a little bit. That second line, so G for treble clef, B for bass clef, and we're going to tie our whole note to our quarter note. Now they're the exact same pitch as you can see, so we're going to add those values together. So if I were to label these two measures, labeling the counts, it would look something like this. Our whole note we know is 1-2-3-4. Because we have that tie, we have to add another dash to the next note. So we're connecting them with a dash. So put another dash right here, right underneath that bar line. And this quarter note is going to take up just that first beat of that measure, so we're going to write a 1. Now the other quarter note is going to be on beat 2, and then our half note is going to take up beats 3 and 4. So it would look something like this. That is if we were to tie that whole note to a quarter note. And we know that if we were to play that note, since we're adding the values together, and the whole note has 4 beats, quarter note has 1 beat, we're going to hold out that note for 5 beats total. I'm just gonna go across that bar line. All right, moving on. Let's go to our repeats. So a repeat sign, go all the way to the right side of your page. We're gonna draw a double bar line, just like this, so that thicker line is on the outside and then a skinnier line on the inside. And then inside that skinny line, you're gonna write 2 little dots, just like this. Boom, boom. So sometimes when we have our repeat signs, we'll just have the one that's after the music. And if there's nothing on this side over here, that means you're just gonna go back to the beginning of the piece. But sometimes it wants us just to repeat a little section of the music. So there'll be music in the beginning, we'll be reading, 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 and then there'll be a little section that's inside of those repeat signs. So let's go ahead, if we were to have another set of repeat signs, they would be flipped. So the little dots would be on the inside, just like this. And what I like to use to remember is gonna be don't pass by. Don't pass them by, the repeat signs. We're going to repeat what's inside. So that's only if we have both of these sets of repeat signs. So again, don't pass by these repeat signs. You're going to repeat all of the notes that are in between, inside of those repeat signs. Again, if you don't have the repeat sign that's on the left, that means you just go back to the beginning and you repeat all of those notes. So that's kind of how that works. That's how I remember what a repeat sign is. Last thing I'd like to talk about is going to be our first and second ending. So go ahead and label first and second endings. We're going to give ourselves some space. This time we can just draw a rhythm staff to keep it simple. And I'd like to have 4 measures, just like this. That third measure is going to be my first ending, and you just write first. You don't have to write out the word ending. And that last measure, measure 4, is going to be my second ending. So now let's write in some notes just to give us some pretend music here. So my first measure, let's just write a whole note, keep it easy. Second measure, let's write 4 quarter notes, 1, 2, 3, 4. First ending, let's do 2 half notes, just like this. My second ending is going to be a whole note. So what this means is when we repeat through the first time, we're going to take the first ending. But after we repeat back to the beginning, we're going to skip that first ending. So repeat back to the beginning, skip the first ending. So here we go. The first time through, I'm going to start on my whole note. And I'm going to go, go, go. I'm going to play through the whole note. And then I'm going to get to my quarter notes. 1, 2, 3, 4. First time through, so we're going to take the first ending. Now I'm at my half notes. 1, 3. After I get through those half notes, I'm going to go back to the beginning. Boom, all the way over here to where my whole note is. And then I'm going to play through those first 2 measures again. So I'm going to go through the whole note. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then through my quarter notes as well. And after I get through my quarter notes, I'm going to skip that first ending. So I'm not going to play it. I'm going to jump over it. And then I'm going to go directly to my second ending. So all the way through, if I were to count this from the very beginning, the first time through, it would sound something like this. 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 3, 1, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1. Stop. So did you see what I did? That first time through, I played the first ending, and then I went back to the beginning, and the second time through, I jumped over and went to the second ending. Remember, after you repeat to the beginning, skip that first ending. So that's just a few of our reminders to help you remember our ties and our slurs. Remember, slurs switch. Ties are twins that are added together, so you're going to add those note values together. Repeat signs, don't pass by, repeat what's inside. And then our first and second endings, as you go through, you're going to play the first ending. After you repeat to the beginning, you're going to skip and go to that second ending. Bye, everybody.